Hey everybody, welcome back to the garage. Today, we've got something special in store for you. We're gonna go through Texa's car software. Now everybody knows that Texa makes probably the best heavy-duty scan tool on the planet. Whether it's on-road diesel or off-highway construction and ag vehicles, Texa's got you covered for sure. One of the things that we don't talk about near as often as we should is the outstanding coverage that Texa has on car, and that's what we're here to talk to you about today. We're going to show you the capabilities that Texa has using this 2022 Camaro ZL1. So without any long intros or anything, let's just get right to it. Now, there's a couple different ways that you can purchase Texa car software. We have several packages available. Really depends on what you're looking for. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to showcase the Axone Light with Nano VCI package. And what that is, this is going to be our VCI. A couple really cool features on this. There is a built-in light. So what that does is it helps illuminate underneath the steering wheel and the under dash area, so you can see what you're doing as you're connecting the VCI to the vehicle. It's a small thing, but really diagnostics is all about the details, isn't it? So we call this package the Light package because this is the Axone Nemo Light. This is a fully rugged Texa proprietary tablet that is running a complete Windows open architecture. And what that means is it's not embedded like some of our competitors. This is going to give you the ability with this tablet to load some of your proprietary software, like say, for example, GM or Ford or Stellantis software, Toyota software, whatever the case may be. You can load that on this. You can surf any web browser, you can print wirelessly, you can connect this directly to your network without any issues because it is a fully open architecture Windows platform. So let's go ahead and get the software up and going. While that's booting up, let's go ahead and talk about the software coverage in Texa. There's two main platforms. We have the car package, which is going to be all of your passenger cars, European, Asian, domestic, including light trucks, all the way up to 3500, 4500 series diesels. And then we have the supercar add-on. And the supercar add-on is going to give you real-world coverage on Lamborghini, Ferrari, Maserati, and not just the VAG protocols, but going all the way back to like the 355 or the 360 in the Ferrari range, going back to the Gallardo and things like that on Lamborghini. So you're going to have more than just the Volkswagen protocols. You'll also have the older proprietary protocols as well. So the supercar package can be added to any car package. So if that's something that you're starting to see in your shop, don't hesitate to ask your Texa distributor about more details on the supercar software. Today, we're going to focus on this 2022 Camaro ZL1. So first thing we're going to do, as this opens up, as you can see, Texa IDC5 software always shows all of the environments. These are grayed out because truck, off-highway, bike, and marine are not associated with this key. However, because Texa does have all of these environments, if you had one of our larger platforms like the Axone Voice, our flagship product, you could actually have all 5 of those environments active on the same tool, utilizing the same VCI, which in that case would be the multi-hub. And the multi-hub is also available as a package with the Light as well. So we have the Axone Light Nano package. We also have the Axone Light multi-hub package. The advantages with the multi-hub, beyond being able to interrogate the protocols on the other environments, is J2534 capabilities, being able to run your proprietary software, do your flash programming, things like that, as well as being RP1210 compliant if you were using this on truck. So if you wanted to, for example, download Cummins software and you needed an RP1210 compliant device to be able to utilize that Cummins software without having to buy another RP1210 device similar to a Nexic USB link or something like that, the multi-hub would save you that money. So let's go ahead and get our software open because that's really what we're here to show you. Okay, and then we have several different options here. We're going to go to diagnosis. Okay, and we're going to start with VIN check. Bear with my stylus. I'm using a stylus so my fat fingers don't get in the way, but the stylus doesn't always make a good contact with the screen. All right, so once we've identified the vehicle, we have several options. TGS3, and that's where we're going to start first. I always recommend that you start with the TGS scan. TGS stands for Total Global Scan, and then the 3 is third generation. So this is the third generation of Texa's Total Global Scan, and what that's going to do is go out and interrogate the vehicle and come back with what modules are present on the bus. May come back with modules that are not present on the bus, that are options on this vehicle, but are not reporting because they're physically not there. So once we select the TGS scan, the next screen that's going to come up is going to actually show us a video. Now, on most cars, it's pretty self-explanatory where that OBD2 connector is, right? It's not rocket science, but whether it's simple or whether it's hidden, a little more hidden, like on some BMWs or some of your older Ferraris, some of your older Lamborghinis, there's always a video there that's going to show you where that connector is located. That's not something unique to the car environment. We do that in bike, we do that in marine, we do that in truck, we do that in off-highway. It's just one of those things that makes your job a little bit easier. So we're going to hit next. It gives us the instructions on how to get the vehicle in diagnostic mode, which we already have. So we're going to hit next. And what the software is going to do now is load the protocols into the VCI that it needs. So this is letting me know that we have already scanned this vehicle. It's asking me, that's how smart this software is. It's asking me, do you want to pick up where you left off, or would you like to start a new scan? Since you guys weren't here for the last scan, we're going to go ahead and start a new scan. We're going to follow the online prompts or the on-screen prompts. Now it's going to load the protocols to the VCI that the VCI needs to communicate with the vehicle. And then it's going to come back with a vehicle report or a scan report letting us know what modules are there, whether they do or do not have faults, and more importantly, this is also going to give us our topography of the CAN networks. It will also break down which networks, which modules are on which networks, and how things are interconnected, which also helps again with diagnosing your vehicle. So once this comes up, we have a yellow box here with a triangle in it. What that's telling us is there is a fault in the brake ECU or the ABS ECU. We have a couple that are red here. So I'm just going to slide down, right? So this is all of the modules that could be on the vehicle, okay? The yellow is a module that is on the bus, it's present, but it's yellow because it's letting us know that there is a fault stored in that ECU. The red X's are modules that are not present or not communicating for one reason or another. Could be a problem with the module. More times than not, it's just because this vehicle is not fitted with that particular module. And then we have the green check boxes, and that is a module that's on the bus, it's communicating, there's no fault stored, okay? So if we want to see what that fault is real quick, we can just highlight that, okay? And hit that button, that drops this down, and what we have is it's a U code, it's a loss of communication. We know that it's a history code or a memory code because the color on the LED, the digital LED, is yellow. It's letting us know that it's a history or a memory fault, and it's a loss of communication with the body controller. Could be voltage related, could be whatever. None of the other modules have faults in them. So we'll come back here. Now, if we want to look at that topology that we were talking about, we click on our little gauge symbol, and what that's doing is giving us a graphical representation of what we were just looking at. The green are all of the modules that are on the bus and communicating with no faults. Red are modules that are not present on the bus, and that ABS is yellow because it does have a fault stored in it. So if we come over here and I highlight this, that's powertrain. So if you notice when I hit powertrain, we've got these two flashing. So these are the two ECUs that would be tied into powertrain. We can do the same thing with VIN. So any of the modules that have VIN information stored in them are now flashing. AC. Infotainment. Electronic system or electric system. Driver assistance. And safety. Now, we can also look at this by the CAN bus itself. So if I want to see what's on the K line, for example, I just hit that K line, and right there where the wire is coming out of the DLC, you'll see that's going from a solid line to a flashing dotted line. That's letting us know which modules are connected to that K line. If I want to go to the L line, same thing. H1, H2, and so on. What that does is it really, if we're chasing a CAN related issue or even a communication fault just between modules, it's letting us know what the architecture of this vehicle is and how these modules are interconnected. It helps us narrow down where we need to focus our diagnosis. Now, once we have done the TGS scan, we can interrogate any of these modules from here. So what I can do, if I wanted to, let's say I want to diagnose that U0140 code, loss of communication with body controller, what I can do is highlight that ECU. I can either hit the erase button, which will do a broadcast clear of all faults in the car, or I can hit this button. You can also double click. You can double click on that line where that ECU is. What we're doing now is we're establishing a direct communication line with that module or that ECU. And we do have an electric parking brake, so we're going to confirm. Okay, there's our fault. Parameters are going to be all of our data. There's several different ways that we can look at data. One of my favorites are the dashboards that Texa creates. And what's really cool about this is, obviously, this is specific to this ABS system. When we look at dashboards in any of the other systems, they'll be specific to those systems. And they're not just generic drawings, they are specific to the vehicle or the setup that you're working on. Those dashboards can be found also in truck and off-highway, several of the other environments. We can also filter, let's say there's a bunch of data here, right? So let's see how many data PIDs we're actually looking at. So there's 38 data PIDs in the ABS system. That's not that many, to be fair. If we switch to engine, we're probably going to have a lot more data PIDs available. Chances are at any given point in time, there's only a couple data PIDs that we're interested in looking at. So I can just do a quick filter like that and bring up just the ones that I want to look at that are pertinent to my diagnostic situation. Now there's a couple different ways that we can go from here. I can just go back and not save this because this was just a quick way of doing this. I can also go in and save this and then name it. And what you're going to do, the reason for that, or the benefit to being able to do that, is when, let's say we were working on this LT4 engine and I'm chasing a drivability issue. There's probably some very specific things that I want to look at, fuel pressure, fuel trims, things like that. I can go in and set up a customized data list that's going to be available every time that I'm working on that vehicle. So instead of me having to go and filter, common diagnostic situations, I can pre-configured data the way that I want to see it, in the way that it makes sense to me. As a diagnostic technician, everybody's different, right? Everybody looks at things a little bit differently. They use a scanner just slightly different. At the end of the day, we're all trying to get to the same end goal, which is to diagnose the vehicle, get it repaired, get it back to the customer, right? So this allows you to do that the way that you choose to. We also have our typical standard text data, okay? And then we can put this in graph mode by double clicking. We can come out by double clicking. One of the other things that I really like about Texa software is it's a really easy learning curve, right? Regardless of the vehicle that you're working on, and I don't mean just in the car environment, regardless of what environment you're working in, the layout and flow is always the same. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of differences in the car software versus heavy-duty truck. The vehicles are built differently. There's different nomenclature. There's a lot of different things, right? But where we go to get things is always going to be the same, whether this is a car, an on-road diesel truck, an excavator, a boat, or a motorcycle. Doesn't matter. The layout and flow is always going to be the same. Parameters is always going to be our data. Faults are going to be just that. It's going to be any of our fault codes. ECU info is always going to be hardware and software numbers, VIN numbers, things like that. Activations are going to be our bidirectional control. So if we wanted, this is where we're going to turn stuff off and on. And then settings, this is where we're going to do our calibrations and configurations and things like that. Obviously, that's going to vary depending on the vehicle and the environment that you're working in. However, it's always going to be in settings. So if we were working on an over-the-road truck, for example, and we wanted to do a VGT calibration, it's going to be found in settings. No different than in the car environment, this automatic brake bleeding is found in settings. Or the parking brake calibration for that matter. So calibrations, adjustments, things like that are always going to be found in settings. Activation is what I refer to as light switch stuff. This is turning stuff off and on, beeping the horn, turning the lights on, that kind of thing. If we wanted to clear these faults, and we can go ahead and clear them, this is actually my personal vehicle, and there's no lights on the dash. Don't know how long. This is the first time this vehicle has ever been scanned since I've owned it, or at least scanned by me since I've owned it. So we're gonna, I have no issues that I'm aware of. So I'm just gonna go ahead and clear this code. I'm not a big fan of clearing codes until the diagnosis is done. But I did want to show you what happens when you clear the codes. Now, this is also something that I really like about how Texa software works. And again, this is something that is not unique to car. This is something that is in all of the environments, right? So when I cleared the code, you notice that it's still displayed, but the triangle went from yellow to green. What that's telling me is that code has effectively been cleared from the ECU memory. We continue to display that code for verification purposes, right? So ultimately what you should be doing is making sure that the vehicle is repaired or fixed before you give it back to the customer. And some codes can be a 2 or 3 trip DTC, right? So you take it out on a road test before you disconnect the software. As long as I don't back out, we're going to continue to show this code. If I switch from a cleared status to a pending status, meaning that that code has set a single trip, and it's going to, ultimately we know it's going to come back on, right? It's going to trigger the light. We're going to have a failure. What that does is it lets me know that my diagnosis is not complete. We have a little bit more work to do, and that's an awesome feature put in here by Texa. Also, if it goes red, that's letting us know that it's set a current hard fault. Now, what I want to do is we're going to go into the body controller, just show you how some of these bidirectional controls work. And given the fact that we're in a video and you're not here touchy-feely, we can hit some bidirectional controls that you can see in here. So now we're moving over into the body controller. And once we're in there, we'll just kind of go through the same thing that we did in the ABS module. and show you kind of how everything's laid out. We always default to false. The reason for that, regardless of what you scan, regardless of what environment you're in, again, back to that consistency thing, right? That consistency is what reduces that learning curve for the technician. So the reason that we repeat this over and over again, 9 times out of 10 when you're grabbing a scanner, it's because a light is on, right? Sometimes you could have a symptom-based diagnosis, right? But a lot of times a check engine light's on, an ABS light's on, there's some kind of fault. So the first thing that you want to look at is the faults. That's why we default that way. So we got parameters, again, everything works the same. We have our filters. If there's a dashboard available, there's not in this body controller, but if there was a dashboard available, this would not be grayed out. It would be active, okay? ECU Info, activation, settings. So this is, you know, driver window learn values, brake pedal travel sensor learning. Again, this is all of your bidirectionals and, or I'm sorry, not your bidirectionals, but your settings and configurations. And activations is going to be all your bidirectional controls. So my first thought was I grabbed the first thing that I looked at, which happened to be the left-hand parking lamp. Well, as you can see, I have that covered, so that wasn't very effective of showing you how this works. So instead, let's just do the right front turn indicator. So we'll highlight that. We'll hit start. We've got on the screen, we've got this test is for vehicles with separate turn signals, blah, 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 blah. Confirm. All right, and then we're going to hit our arrow. We hit the arrow again, and we're off, okay? If we want to come in, let's say horn relay, that's a good one. Start. This ought to be great for my cameraman. Scared him. You could see the camera shake. I know you could. And that's basically how the activations work. And again, this is something that's not specific to just the car environment. This is something that the activations are going to work the same regardless of what environment you're in. All right, guys. So obviously, coverage and capability is a requirement for good diagnostics, right? But what are the other really important things that you need? Repair information or code help, and real world, no BS technical support. Okay, so let's tackle the first one first, and that is the repair information. So we have motor technical data integrated directly into the Texa software. So I already have it up. Number one, I am already identified as a 22 Camaro ZL1. And the reason for that is because I did the VIN scan when I started the diagnosis. As long as you start with the VIN scan instead of a manual ID, when you do need to pull up your repair information and your code assistance, it will automatically identify the vehicle for you. It knows exactly what vehicle you're working on. Now we've got all of our information there. I think we had a U010140, I think, 0U1. I'm going from memory. You should never do that north of 40 for the record. Now, we didn't have any faults or anything in the engine, but let's just take a look at, let's say we just had I'm going to use a typical generic code. We'll do a PO E0305. Search. Okay. And then all of our factory GM data is right here. And the cool part is, this is 100% factory GM data. This isn't something rewritten. This isn't something that's modified and ends up not being accurate at times that you find with some of the other repair information that's available. So this is 100% GM data. We talked about the other environments which you can add to the software. Let's say you do a little bit of medium or light, some of the smaller heavy-duty trucks. You can add the truck software to this. If you do car and marine, you can add marine to it, whatever the case may be. But let's talk about technical support. Between Cutting Edge Automotive Solutions, our company, and Texa USA, our technical support is second to none. I put that up against anybody, and I dare you to test us. Right now, we run, on average, about a 16-second answer time. If for some reason your call isn't answered, you will have a proactive call returned to you, and that is a level of service that you just won't find anywhere else. We need coverage and we need capabilities. I think we've showed that Texa software has the coverage and the capabilities that you need. It has the feature sets that you need with the repair information, and we also have world-class, second to none, the best tech support in the business. There's really no other choice but Texa Diagnostics if you want the best. Remember, Texa, simplifying the present, anticipating the future.